Over the past 18 years, we've had quite a selection of people turning up with multimeters, or allegedly. We might get something like this, and they'll even smaller, and they'll say, I got this from a toy shop for 10 quid. Any good? No. Or they have something like this, which is called a manual one. And you can tell the difference because it's got lots of increments for AC or DC or ohms, which makes our life very difficult and confusing because you've got to be in the right slot to read the display to understand, is that component correct or not? So that's too complicated. We've got something even better than that, and this is called a multimeter, hence the name. When I select AC and I put my black lead in first and then the red lead in second, this will give me a perfect display of the voltage that I'm reading. And the same thing happens in DC and the same thing happens in ohms. So auto ranging, but there are different types. The ones that we only allow to use are called category 3, 600 volts AC. Nothing else, no other category, it has to be the 3. Otherwise, any of these will either melt or explode if you get in the wrong setting. So remember, this is the most important one. Now this year is 2020 and we've got some new rules come into place about testing before we start taking the boiler apart. And the reason being is that for many years electricians and heating engineers, DIYers, they touch the boiler which is live and they get electrocuted, and it's still continuing, and in actual fact it's getting worse. So this year, as I say 2020, there are some new tested equipments. What's the culprit of being electrocuted? Well, it's spurs. Spurs kill more people. You can turn it off, remove the fuse, and the boiler is still live, and I will show you one on a little video in a second. The other component is this screwdriver known as a neon. Now here, at most training centres, they're completely banned, not even as a screwdriver, because when you touch the end, a neon lights. But as soon as you touch this, within half a second or less, you can be electrocuted. So these are extremely dangerous. Do not buy them, do not use them at all. A good screwdriver would be something in this range here where it's nice and easy to hold, and also if you press it in you can remove the end piece and put a whole load of adapters, and these we love because they are brilliant and they'll go right up to 1000 volts. So for us that's brilliant. Another thing we get is something like this. This is a ring main tester, or sometimes there's a big one which is called the clamp, G-clamp. Now, as regards to a ring main tester, this is a great, very fast thing. So again, that goes on the neutral or earth, and that goes on the live terminal, and it's a very quick and precise way of knowing voltage is going in up to a certain level, because they're not 100%, because they just jump with lights. So they say, oh, you've got between 150 and 200, or whatever the scale chart here is. So as a quickie, that's great. Nothing wrong with these at all. The G-clamp that quite often we see here do not fulfill the criteria of being a multimeter. You couldn't test this sensor with one of those. You've got absolutely zero chance in doing that. So again, we don't like to see G-clamps at all, or any other clamps, and the clamp is only really for amps, milliamps, etc., which we have to stay clear of because amps kill people, not volts. Volts go off, but amps actually kill people. Another tester that we use and we have to have is something like this. This is called a no touch or voltage free pen, right? So when we go near a boiler, and I'm going to do a video, you don't touch the boiler, you just go somewhere near it, but more importantly it goes along the flex or the socket. So particularly, as I said, spurs have this problem that you will turn a spur off, remove the fuse, but the boiler is still very much live. So this is one that you just go around, and if it lights up, and it'll be so sensitive that you could either touch it with your finger and it can light up, which means this is brilliant. So this is recommended, if not compulsory. The next thing that we have to look at on our multimeter is a temperature sensor, because we have to measure the water output. We turn the boiler thermostat to 30, plug this in, select 30 in C or just C, and that display should come up. Then we turn it up to 60, the display shows 60. Then we turn it back down to 30, and that's it. So this is included in all good category 3 multimeters. The other thing we're going to have to now is the digital manometers. This is the old type one. The new type has got 2 terminals. So don't buy these, don't use these. Get the 2-pin ones so you can do let by, etc. Don't use water gauge. It's old-fashioned and it's not accurate. These are really, really good. Now, as I said, 2020 has got some changes to stop all this accidents and people dying from trying to repair a boiler or being severely electrocuted and burning their fingers off. We've had people here with burnt off tops because they used either an electrical screwdriver or they were just sloppy that they thought off means dead. They put their hands inside the PCB, but it was very much live. The reason being is you can have 2 spurs or sockets. You can have one for the boiler, for example, in the kitchen, but then your controls are in the airing cupboard and there's another spur there, which you don't turn off because we don't. We just work at the boiler. So as soon as you touch anywhere near the PCB, electricity jumps or you touch the board and you burn your fingers, which means that you could be unemployed for months on end while your fingers, which earn money, are unemployed. The next stage that we're looking at is something like this. This is socket and C. There are various models, so I'll show you the model that we use. So this is the Ultimate Professional. Shop around, but this is the best make on the planet for advanced isolation testing and all sorts of things like that. So this is the very best. What you will find from August 2020 this year are these components. This is called a proving unit, battery powered, so you get a whole load of batteries in here that you put in, and it's to design to work with this, which is an indicator. So as always, we put the black lead in here first, then we get the red lead in here and press down, and when the lights come on, then you can see that there is voltage or no voltage or whatever's going on. So this is a proving kit. Have a look. This is made by Martindale. They will have a video how to actually use this, and there are other videos on YouTube. So I'm not going to do exactly the same as them because the firm makes a much better job than I could ever do. So remember, this is the new thing that we need to have in our toolbox. So when we do go to a boiler, we can actually test whether the boiler is actually off and dead or still live, which is the case for many situations. Before we use our voltage indicator to do our polarity test and all the other bits and pieces, we have to prove it's working correctly because it's a complicated instrument. So we have a proving kit which comes in the whole bundle, and as you can see there's 2 probes and there's 2 neons here. So first of all we need to just check that the batteries are okay. We can use the transformer through this little one, that's 12 volts DC going into here, but most of us are going to use a battery. So the first test we're going to do is, now because it's black, it only goes into one of these, and it's this side on there, and you can see here on the neon it lights up. If I put it on this side, it doesn't. So always remember, only one side will work. And this is now going to test the batteries and the probe. The next stage is going to be, it's just to complete the circuit and test this. So we put that into there. And as you can see, all the neons have lit. If they don't light up, something is wrong, and look in the instructions or phone the technical department. So this proves that this now can be used safely and accurately on the boiler, which is the next video that we're going to do. Let me show you how you use the voltage indicator, which is a requirement now for safety reasons, obviously. What we've got across the top are 4 neons. They indicate AC and DC. We've got 50, 100, 200 and 400. So in a normal house, we expect to be having 3 neons up to 200 volts and then nothing below 400 volts. So it's between 200 and 400, somewhere in between. The bottom 2 neons are polarity. So first of all, I've turned the boiler off underneath, but there's still power going into the appliance. And we want to check whether the brown is actually live or it's dead, whichever. And as you saw by the slide, I've actually swapped them over to simulate a faulty spur, because plugs don't have this problem, but spurs do. So the first thing we always do, we're going to put the black probe, no further than that, into the neutral terminal and the red one into the live. And as you can see, we've got voltage going in. To find out which one is actually live, we then put this, where the yellow and greens meet, onto this casing. Press down and we go into the live terminal. And you can see there's no voltage going down the brown wire. So we'll put it into the neutral, and there is, and it's cross-polarityed. So therefore, some boilers may not work at all. Some will be intermittent, some will be very intermittent. So they'll go up to a certain point and then they'll just stop because they need the brown wire to carry the voltage to perform the action that that component needs to do. So this is why this is crucial, and we need this to actually highlight any faults that there are. One more tip I can give you is here on the casing. So some people, when they come here, they'll go casing to live. So if we put it there to neutral, we'll put it there to live, as you see, nothing is there at all. But if we transfer back down to the earth, here, you see, it gives us a true figure. So don't touch this, because paint is actually insulation. And this is the way we use a voltage indicator. Another safety tool that we need to have are these socket testers. And here are 3 different types. So we need to plug this in and see. So if we do the basic one, switch it on, and if we get the 3 lights, all is well. And if there aren't 3 lights, the display down here will tell us what's actually wrong. The next one up from that would be something like this, where it's now audio, and you can possibly hear that. And then the next best, or the ultimate, is something like this. This is a QTech 107, and you can see the things. It's got lights on the top, but it's also got a polarity checker and a RCD checker. Simply by pressing that, it drops out the RCDs. They simply plug into a socket, as they all do, and highly recommended to use. So it's either, don't use the basic one because it's not really good enough. Something like this, or better, or the QTech one, or the socket and C version if you buy that kit.